released in 2022. This unlicensed MMA fighter, Conor McGregor, by PTGToys, is definitely one of the stranger additions for this channel. And while his antics in recent years had certainly been a matter of controversy, McGregor has put up some of the most legendary fights in UFC history. And yes, my copy of the box has suffered some damage during transit, but luckily, all the contents are fine. Starting with the head sculpts, I'd argue that the likeness is only alright. This is one of those times that, if I didn't already have the context that this is supposed to be Conor McGregor, I might have a tough time even recognizing who this is supposed to be. Likely because many features are slightly exaggerated, such as the eyes being a little too deep, the ridge on the eyebrows are too pronounced, and the nose and cheeks are a little too rugged. But the resemblance is there, or at least it's enough that I don't have to ironically ask, who the fuck is that guy? This release comes with two costume options, one for his usual setup inside the UFC octagon, the other for his over-the-top press conference setup from one of the pre-fight tour stops against Mayweather in 2017. The trunks are what you would expect. They're green, stretchy, and printed with corporate sponsor logos. The letter U is falling apart on my copy, as the UFC logo is merely glued to this elastic band, so be careful when handling these. And since his gloves are part of this setup, I'll cover the hand options here too. The bad news is, there's only one pose for the gloves. The worst news is, the fit is so tight that they chipped the forearms on mine. So again, be extra careful with yours. The flashy costume fares a little better though. Starting with this Gucci fur coat. It's got the same three-headed serpent embroidered on the back, though the pattern isn't nearly as imposing, nor does it wrap around the front like the real deal. So, much like this inner lining here, this coat gets the point across decently well. Then we have these shimmery brocade trousers, though the floral patterns aren't as rich. So like the rest of this costume, these pants roughly get the job done. And finally, there are two options for the feet. These loafers in particular don't rise up as much, so they don't grind against these ankle supports, which strangely gives it a more robust articulation. And speaking of, before diving into the low points of the figure body, let's first take a look at the absolute high points that are the tattoos. Every last one of them is printed right on the surface, so they can't be easily scrubbed off. First we have this king gorilla eating a heart, which is a reference to McGregor's gym back in Ireland, followed by the tiger and his notorious nickname. The tiger sits right on the waist joint, so it could be pulled in halves, which is an unfortunate reality for these type of jointed bodies. Then we have the crucifix tattoo on the back, followed by the thorny helix that also goes right over the waist joint. The rosebush tattoo is faithfully reproduced in all its glory, complete with the pocket watch, the slow is smooth, smooth is fast motto, a dagger, plus the man in a top hat and a set of punching gloves. And finally, the Arabic tattoo on the back of his left ankle did not go amiss. But going the other direction, I'd argue that the tattoos on the torso could be a little bigger relative to the body. And this brings me to another nit I have with the proportions. While McGregor has certainly beefed up over the years, this figure body could be bulkier to match even his 2015 physique. It doesn't help that the head sits a little too high on the neck, but the articulation overall is also kind of mild. And since tattoos are difficult to manage on seamless bodies, this type of traditional jointed body is rightfully chosen for this release. In all fairness, I'm not saying the articulation is a deal breaker. In fact, the Haomaru figure that I reviewed last time had a uniquely sculpted body, and even so, the articulations aren't any better. But for someone like Conor McGregor, whose bespoke physique and tattoos are some of his defining features, the body proportions on this figure could be a little more accurate. In any case, at least the accessories are a lot of fun. Other than the studs on both ends, all the gold pieces on this championship belt are made of metal. Sadly, this thing can't be worn because the pleather belt just isn't long enough, nor does it have the locking mechanisms. Next we have this flag of Ireland. The base white fabric is really soft, but the green and orange portions are printed on, adding a layer of stiffness that will require you to be a little crafty to get around. Then we have this Reebok punching bag. The outer layer is a shiny pleather, with cotton stuffing all throughout, so it's super light. The stand is made of metal, which gives it a good heft. And finally, we have some blings to go with McGregor's signature flamboyant style. First is this pair of shades. It's made of a thin sheet metal, so it's super flexible. Followed by this Monster energy drink pendant that's also made of metal. Next we have a timepiece with a discernible dial, though the muted gold really gives it away that this is an obvious piece of plastic hiding amongst the blings. And lastly, we have this microphone, the handle of which is surprisingly also made of metal, together with everything else. So too, can this figure look extra AF? For the size comparison, I thought it'd be fun to picture McGregor next to Tyler Durden from Fight Club by Blitzway. McGregor himself is about 5'8", which makes this figure a bit too tall at 12 inches. Still though, these two look like they're up to no good. Next, we have some martial arts icons, such as Ip Man played by Donnie Yen, and the one and only Bruce Lee, both of which are by Enter Bay. I personally would love to see McGregor to be featured in an Ip Man movie, and it's always fun to speculate what would happen if Bruce Lee and Conor McGregor were to have a friendly sparring match. So there you have it, the 1/6 scale Conor McGregor by PTGToys. Needless to say, this figure is nowhere near the Hall of Fame for being an all-time great. There's still a lot of room for improvements for just about everything from the head sculpts to the costumes, and from the body proportions to the overall build quality. But outside of the academics of what makes a great figure, the fun factor should also be a consideration. And fun I did have with this release. So if you're getting one of these in spite of its many shortcomings, don't forget to have some fun too. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.